Good evening, everyone. This is something which is this topic, cost of quality, is something which is very interesting to me, and I personally like this. In fact, very often I'm told that Indian products are not competitive globally, owing to the various duties and tax structures in our country. However, most of us ignore the fact that apart from being cost competitive, our offerings should also be of the global standards of quality. In fact, people usually pay premium for the quality products. Most of the time, we also assume that a quality product has to be costly because you invest into quality. Okay. So today we are going to talk about what is the cost of quality and how do you build up the quality. Okay. So let me share the screen. Just a moment. Okay. So if we actually look up, the business climate is becoming increasingly very competitive, and there are multiple options available to the consumers for nearly every product which is on the market. Companies have to stay, price competitive to survive, and the top performing companies usually set themselves apart from the competition by listening to the voice of the customer, and they provide the products that meet the customer's requirements while maintaining a high level of quality and dependability. These companies measure the cost of quality and use the information gained to their advantage. Okay? And so whenever you implement the cost of quality, it gives you a lot of information, and this information is what you use to improve your quality. The principle of cost of quality is very similar to a commercial that was shown, probably, I don't know how many of you would remember. It was shown on the television long time back. And the tagline was that pay me now or pay me later. Okay. The message was that preventive maintenance of your vehicle would prevent more costly repairs down the road. If you continuously, focus on your regular preventive maintenance, the subsequent maintenance cost can come down. Okay. And this is exactly the concept of the cost of quality. You have to understand that where you are paying your money for the quality. Okay. So today's session, we will be attempting at explaining that the cost of quality is a comprehensive concept which covers the cost of poor quality and the cost of the good quality. Okay. So that's the concept which we are going to talk about. We will cover the broad definitions of cost of quality, the common perception of cost of quality, how do we categorize the cost, why implement cost of quality in the organization, concepts of cost of poor and good quality, and how to measure the cost of quality. So these are the broad, scope and the area which we are going to cover today. So there are several ways to define the cost of quality. Let's understand the definition first. A quality cost is considered to be any cost that a company would not have incurred if the quality of the product or service were perfect. So normally, we always think that yes, I can improve the quality of the product after it has been built. And when it goes out into the market, then we start incurring a lot of cost towards improving that. So if you have built the product in such a way that you don't have to incur any cost towards improving the quality, if your product and the services had already been perfect, then that's what we consider as a quality cost. Okay. Some call it as cost of not creating a quality product of service the first time, and every time work is redone, the cost of quality would keep on increasing. Okay. So that's a brief about that. Cost of quality concept maintains that costs are not incurred or allocated, but rather cost. Okay. Also, to be clear, information on cost does not solve quality problem, nor does it suggest specific solutions. Problems are solved by tracing the cause of a quality deficiency and not just by having the cost information. Okay. So cost of quality by default will not solve your quality problems. Let's be clear about that part. Okay. American Society for Quality defines the cost of quality as a methodology that allows an organization to determine the extent to which its resources are used for activities that prevent quality, that appraise the quality of the organization's products or services, and that result from internal and external failures. Okay. Please note 4 words over here. Prevention. Prevention is number 1. Second is appraisal. And the third is the failures, internal or external. These 4 are the hallmarks or the base of cost of quality. Okay. An organization can choose to invest in upfront quality cost to reduce or prevent failures or pay in the end when the defect is eventually discovered by the customer. Okay. In too many cases, organizations choose the latter. And product failures, when you let the failures continue along with the customers, then the product failures can result in increased warranty costs and possibly even the product recalls. You might recall that a lot of cars are recalled back because of a failure of a component, or a component needs to be changed. Now that's a huge cost which each automobile company pays up for having a faulty product included into your car. Okay. The impact to the bottom line in such kind of the cases can be devastating. And in addition, sometimes these are hard to measure costs incurred through loss of brand equity and the possible decline in the future sales. If, for an example, if Maruti Suzuki continuously have the product recalls and customers start believing that the Maruti Suzuki is not a good product, then it's very difficult to measure out that what kind of the brand equity they have lost and what kind of the business you are going to lose in the future. So it's very important to understand these parts. Cost of quality, it can have impact, very, very big impact on a company's bottom line, whether it is positive or negative. So we need to be very clear that get it right the first time, every time has to be our mantra when it comes down to building up the quality into our products. In a way, if you try to understand, the cost of quality is a very confusing term. So anyone who is new to this, it will sound that this term refers to the cost that you incur to produce a quality item. Okay. How much money I put in, which will help you to produce a quality item. However, this is not the fact. The simplified definition of the term would be the cost of failing to produce quality. Okay. It's not cost to produce a quality, but cost of failing to produce quality. That's the difference which we actually have over here. The common perception is that producing better quality will also increase the cost. However, there have been 2 major people who contributed to this entire concept of cost of quality. One is Joseph Juran, and the second is Armand Feigenbaum. And they have questioned this notion that producing better quality will increase the cost. They actually have put forward the idea that producing quality is the responsibility of every single person in an organization. Okay, so that's a philosophy with which they have been, talking about how to manage the cost over here. Okay, and if we take the expanded concept of quality, then it would also include more than just products or services that a company delivers to the other outside parties. And entrepreneurs have very quickly, based upon this entire philosophy which Juran and the Feigenbaum put forward, that validity of the notion is that every single activity the business engages in has to be of the highest standard. If any activity which the business is doing is not of the highest standard, then this notion that quality is something which helps your business will not work positively. Benefits of the quality far exceed the cost of quality. And in 1979, businessman and author Philip Crosby, he published his work calling quality is free. And that changed the way we all look at the quality. So remember, in the beginning itself, we said that if it's a quality product, we assume that it will be costly. But the whole notion over here, Crosby has put in is that quality is free. Okay? Quality doesn't mean that you have to incur higher cost into that. So how should we now perceive the cost of quality? Okay? There are different kind of the answers to that. And most of these solutions also would be depending upon how you perceive the quality. So let's look at some perceptions about what is the cost of quality. Okay. Normally, there are three ways of perceiving the cost of quality. And all the three can be contradictory towards each other, and they can still be right at the same time. Okay? Please note that quality is not an objective, but defined measurement. Okay? Rather, it is a completely subjective, and everyone has their own views of what counts towards a product's quality. Okay? So I would say a good paint on a car is a good quality. Somebody would say that the smooth running engine is the good quality of the car. Okay? Somebody would say that the good paint and the good quality of the engine both combined is the quality of the car. So it's always the personal views which counts towards the product's quality. Okay? But there are definitely certain perceptions we go by, and the first perception is that quality will cost more. That's the first perception which most of the people have. And this, in many instances, is also true. For an example, if I take an example that I was to buy a solid wood furniture, okay, and a solid wood furniture which is not using the plywood, which is not using any other material, but is a solid wood furniture, it would definitely cost more than the furniture which I would make out of the plywood. Now, solid wood furniture is durable. It will last very long. The plywood furniture may look very same, but it definitely will not last as much as the solid wood. Okay? Now, if the solid wood furniture maker wants to compete and increase the business, then in that case, he has to find out the ways of reducing cost to beat the competition from the cheaper plywood furniture. Okay? So that's one part. And it's assumed over here that since I have a solid wood furniture, it's a good quality, cost of the solid wood furniture will be more, right? Okay, so that's the first perception which we go through. The second perception we have is you save more when you spend, and when you spend on the improved quality. Okay, so normally there is a perception we go, okay, let's buy a solid wood furniture. Okay, I'm spending more on that, but it's a good quality. So obviously I will have to spend more on the good quality, and having spent on that, I will not have to invest again and again into the furniture, and it will last me for a longer period. So this is a widely held belief, but it seems to contradict the first point of view we cited. Okay, so let's go back again to the furniture. No matter whether we produce or buy a solid wood or a chipboard furniture. Chipboard is that plywood, which makes the chips which are fused together and compressed into plywood. There are certain standards that are non-negotiable. So I buy whether a plywood furniture or I buy a solid wood furniture. Certain functionalities, certain standards have to be non-negotiable. I definitely will not want to have a table or a chair which is imbalanced, a table or chair which will not be, which will keep on rocking, a table which will keep on shaking. I mean, even if it is a solid wood or it is a plywood, it doesn't matter. It has to be a perfect standard for us. Okay. So now, if that kind of the thing happens, and if my firm was to produce them, there would be three expensive scenarios which could happen. One, I supply the product, but my clients are not satisfied. They return it and demand the credit or replacement, and my reputation suffers. Because, of course, I had a solid wood product, but it was wobbly, so the table was not stable. Okay. I scrap the product and start from the scratch. So I find out that, yeah, it is not properly working, so I scrap it and restart. Okay. Now what will happen is that all the material which I put in to make the first product, they will go absolutely waste. Okay. The third option will be that I take the product which I had made, which is not perfect, rework upon it, make it acceptable to the client. It definitely is going to be cheaper than scrapping and rebuilding, but it definitely will be somewhat costlier than what it would have been had I made it first time correct. Okay, so that's a second situation. Okay. Now that's the second perception. The third perception is that quality costs more if you don't get it right first time. So that's a third perception which a lot of people have about the cost of quality. Now, this is also true under the right circumstances. When we talked about that I have to do my furniture, obviously I'm spending extra time, extra money, and it does cost me more. Okay. Now, both furnitures, whether it is plywood or whether it is the solid wood, okay, the furniture manufacturer will have to have a minimum quality standard, and that has to be the functionality part of the furniture. Okay, if we make an error into that functionality and we don't produce according to that, then definitely the furniture will not be usable. Okay, which will mean that it will bring us back to all the three scenarios, that is, the supply the product, risk our reputation, scrap it and lose the material, or rework it and spend more on that. Okay, so in any way, all these perceptions, all the three perceptions of quality, cost of quality, are also true. Okay, and they apply to all of us. Okay, so let's look at how do we categorize the cost of quality. I mean, what are the cost of quality categories? How do you say that? What makes up what are the components of cost of quality? Okay. So cost of quality equation, if we try to see, it is very simple, but in reality, it is much more complex than it looks like. Cost of quality includes all costs associated with the standard, associated with the quality of a product, from the preventive costs intended to reduce or eliminate failures, cost of process controls to maintain quality levels, and the costs related to failures, both internal and external. Okay, so let's try to understand that more in detail. Okay. We categorize the cost of quality under the two classifications, conformance and the non-conformance, and we have the four categorization under that. Okay. So cost of good quality, first classification, we can also call it the conformance to the quality. We divide that into the two categories called appraisal cost and the prevention cost. Then we have the second classification, cost of poor quality, which you can also call as the non-conformance to either quality or to requirement. And we categorize them under two parts, one as the internal failure cost and the second as the external failure cost. Okay. So these are the components which become the part of your cost of quality calculations. Okay. Let's look into each of them slightly more in detail. So if we first look into the first part of the cost classification called conformance, then as I said, there are two parts, appraisal cost and the prevention cost. Appraisal cost is the cost incurred to determine the degree of conformance to quality requirements. And these costs could be towards the check, testing, inspections, audits, equipment calibrations, and so on and so forth. The second cost which we end up incurring while building up the good quality is prevention cost. And prevention costs are the ones which are incurred to prevent or avoid the quality problems. Okay. Prevention costs are also incurred to keep the failure and appraisal costs to a minimum. And these costs are associated with the things like design, implementation, and maintenance of the quality management system. Okay. So these are the two parts of the conformance cost. Let's look at the non-conformance. A lot of people generalize them as a failure to non-conformance to requirements. Okay. And the first cost over here is the internal failure cost. What is internal failure cost? It's a cost associated with defect found before the customer received the product or service. And these could be reworks, repairs, remake, or correction of the product between one department to another. The second part of the failure cost is external failure cost. This is the cost associated with defects found after the customer received the product or service, and they can be termed in terms of the warranty cost, replacements cost, on-site repair cost, or the product recall, or maybe even the lawsuits because the customer is very unhappy with it. These are all the external failure cost. Okay. So just to recap it back, we essentially have got the two types of the classification of cost of quality, conformance and the non-conformance. Conformance cost covers the appraisal and the prevention cost, and the non-conformance covers the internal failure cost and the external failure cost. Okay. It's again a very common sense over here that as the time increases, in finding the failure, cost of failure also rises exponentially. Okay? So prevention cost is the lowest, but if a manufacturer has to service product failures at the customer side, cost would increase. Okay? The failures would lead to the product recalls or lawsuits, or there can be several such kind of the problems which can happen if I have to service the product at the customer side. Okay? Sometimes it can be even catastrophic for the business because the customers may start having a perception that this product is not a good product. Okay? So as my time to detect the failure and service the failures increases, my impact on the business keeps on increasing and my failure cost will dramatically rise over here. Okay? It is also a common scenario that when we end up spending maximum over the failure cost, whether it is internal or external, a manufacturer must focus on reducing the failure cost, and this can lead to marginal increase in the prevention and appraisal cost, but overall cost of quality will be substantially low. So even if you look over here, you have the failure cost, which is a substantial component over here, and if your goal is to reduce it, I would first focus upon the failure cost. This may lead to some time, the increase into the appraisal cost or the prevention cost, but overall my cost will still be lower than what it was earlier. Okay. So how do I prevent it? Once we start focusing on the managing the quality cost, we would see substantially lower failure and appraisal cost. Okay. Though, as I said earlier, the prevention costs may go up because that's where we will be starting to invest upon. But once again, the total cost of quality after the quality cost alignment comes down substantially, as the failure cost of poor quality are substantially higher than the cost of good quality. Okay? So that's why we will always have this kind of a downward trend if we start doing the cost of quality based alignments into our organizations. Okay? Once again, another chart just to explain the same concept, that effective use and implementation of the cost of quality methodology will enable an organization to accurately measure the amount of resources being used for the cost of good quality and cost of the poor quality. Okay? With this valuable information, the organization can determine where to allocate the resources to improve the product quality and the bottom line. Okay? Just to reiterate, information on the cost will not solve the quality problem, nor it will suggest the specific solutions. Okay? It will just give you the information. It will just tell you that where you're spending the more money and where you should not. Okay? Problems will be always solved only by tracing the cause of a quality deficiency and not just by having the cost information. So usually you would do the root cause analysis, you would do the CAPA, you would do the problem solving tools. Once you have identified that where you're spending more, and then accordingly you will be able to improve your cost of quality over here. Okay. Let's take an example and try to understand that how exactly it can be done. So I'll take a fictitious company called Acme Manufacturing, and at some point they once decided to measure the cost of quality as the amount of warranty cost versus the total sales. Okay. I'm sure that you would understand that if my product is not of a good quality or my product is short shipped. Short shipping means that I'm not shipping the entire product. There is some part left behind and it has to be reshipped separately and installed at the customer side. Then my warranty cost will be very high. Okay. So the Acme Manufacturing, that's why decided to measure the cost of quality as the amount of warranty cost versus the total sales. Okay. While now, if I look at this method, it will only examine the cost of poor quality because it is talking about an external failure. Okay. This will definitely but reveal a problem area in the overall facility. Okay. When they looked at this entire data, they found that the customer part shortages were emerging from one work cell and they were resulting into the warranty cost of over 4 crore rupees in an year. Okay. Since that particular work cell didn't have all the parts, what was happening was that the machines were being shipped with some parts shortage and they had to be serviced at the customer side. So as a result of it, my warranty costs were going up. Okay. So what did they do? Once they got this information that where this particular issue is happening, where the shortage is being identified from, they formed a team to carry out the root cause analysis, and then they developed a plan to redesign the work cell. And they estimated that if we redesign the entire work cell, it will cost us something like 45 lakh rupees. Okay. They took the management approval, and they made a business case that by spending the 45 lakh rupees, we will be able to save a lot of money on the warranty cost. So they made a business case to the management. Once they got the approval from the business management, they redesigned the entire work cell with a revised layout. They installed the pick bins. They had set up the dedicated locations for all the parts. They defined the process controls, and then they also implemented several other small improvements, which essentially helped them to manage their work into the work cell in an effective way. With these changes, what happened is they could reduce the tech time, and even the number of operators required for that particular process were reduced. Okay. This provided them with the resources for the addition of quality technicians to regularly audit and maintain the processes on all the shifts. So all the operators whom they could save, they converted them into a quality inspector to ensure that there are regular audits and nothing gets missed out while shipping the machine. What happened with that is that within the first year of operations, they could reduce the shortages to 50%, and that's 50% equal to nearly a 2 crore rupee reduction in the warranty cost. Okay. So now if you look back on an investment of 45 lakh rupees, in the first year itself, they saved the 2 crore rupees, which meant that they saved or they added to the bottom line a 1.65 crore rupees in the first year itself. Okay. Now, if we look into this, in this particular project, the cost of the poor quality was having a major impact on the bottom line. Okay. Though they didn't do a complete analysis, they just focused on the warranty cost, and it was a failure because it's external failure. And since it's external failure is part of the poor quality, they focused only on that, but they invested into the cost of good quality. They've invested into the improvement into the work cell, into the redesigning of it, into the improved processes, and so on and so forth. And that investment in the cost of good quality helped them to achieve a significant reduction in the cost of quality overall. Okay, so this is how normally we implement the cost of the quality. Okay, so having understood that a little bit, let's try to understand that how do you measure the cost of quality. And what will happen is that if we want to measure the cost of quality, the methods of cost of quality, calculating that would vary from company to company. If you remember in our example also, we determined that we will calculate the cost of quality by calculating only the total warranty value as a percentage of sales. Okay, this method looks only at the external cost of quality and only that much. While when we want to have a total cost of quality and measure that, we need to look at the quality of cost in all respects, whether it is the cost of poor quality or the cost of good quality, to gain a better understanding. So let's take an example. Let's also understand that what the industry trends are when we talk about the cost of quality and measuring them. If we look at the industry trends, it seems that today, most of the studies which have been done in the market, that the true quality cost can be as high as the 15 to 20% of the sales revenue in reality in the industry. Okay, so the true total cost of quality is very, very high in the market. You actually have 15 to 20% of your sales revenue. And if you measure it against the operational cost, then it can be as high as the 40%. It's higher because sales revenue will also have the distribution cost, will also have the profit margins and other components. Operational cost, if you take it solely, then the cost of quality can result as high as the 40% losses over here. Okay, so it becomes a very, very important area to focus upon. What is the industry? So if I also go by the industry, the general rule of thumb is that the cost of poor quality in a good company will be about 10 to 15% of the operational cost. If it is 40%, it is very high. That's a benchmark you can set up that my operational cost of quality should not be exceeding more than 15% of my operations cost. Okay. When we have an effective quality management improvement program, then we can reduce this substantially, and we can also make a direct contribution to the profit. So if I reduce my 40% operational cost to 15%, I'm making a 25% contribution to my bottom line directly. Okay. The quality cost systems, once established, should become dynamic, and they usually have a positive impact on the achievement of the organization's missions, goals, and objectives. So that's why we try to measure them against the operation costs and the sales revenue. Cost of quality is represented by the sum of two factors, cost of good quality and the cost of poor quality. These two together represent the total cost of quality, and that's the basic equation on which we go. Okay. Now, we will also look into what comprises of the cost of good quality and cost of poor quality a little later, but this is a simple formula by which we try to capture the cost of quality in our organizations. Okay. As long as you are able to capture this information, capture this data, and apply this particular formula, it will always tell you that where you're spending more and where you should reduce your investment into, or where you should invest more. Like in the example of the Acme manufacturing, you were spending more on the warranty cost, which was the cost of poor quality. But by investing into the cost of good quality, you could reduce the cost of poor quality, and overall your cost of quality came down. Okay. So this is the simple formula which we apply over here. There is a rule called 1:10:100. Okay. And it's a very popular rule when we run it in the cost of quality calculation. What it basically says is that 1 rupee spent on the prevention will save 10 rupee on the appraisal, and that will further save 100 rupee on the failure. Okay. So it's a pyramid structure by which we go, and it's a very famous rule, 1:10:100. Okay. This rule helps us to prioritize our expenditures on the prevention, which definitely brings a lot of greater returns. If I already have the failure and I have to correct it, I spend more money. But if I can prevent it right in the beginning itself, my failure cost or the correction cost can be avoided. Okay. So remember earlier also we said that earlier you detect, you prevent a defect, the more you can save. Okay. So if I take an example over here, if let's say there is a 2 rupee costing resistor which is defective, and I find it before I use it, before I apply it onto a your electronic board, then I'll lose only 2 rupees. There's the cost of the resistor. Right? But suppose if I have shouldered it on a motherboard of a computer, then probably it might cost me maybe even 100, 500 rupees to repair that particular part. And suppose if I don't even catch it after shouldering it on the motherboard, and this entire thing goes to the customer, then probably it may cost me 5,000, 10,000, or maybe 50,000 rupees to find out where the error is and then repair it. Okay, because I'll have to first of all diagnose it across the larger component size, identify it at the customer location, spend onto the customer service engineer cost, and so on and so forth, and then only I will be able to repair it. So my cost of repairing a faulty resistor, if not detected in the beginning, can run into thousands of rupees. And if my computer itself is going to cost me, let's say 50,000 rupees, and I am going to spend 25,000 rupees, then it's not worth it. Okay, so that's why it is very important that we apply this rule and keep this rule in mind, that 1:10:100. The earlier we detect and prevent a defect, the more we can save. Okay? So prevention is better than the failure. So 1:10:100 is a golden rule over here. Though we did talk about the several we did talk about the cost of good quality, cost of the poor quality. There are several components which will become part of this cost. However, what happens is that there are several components of the cost which are never visible to us. Okay, we usually do not even recognize those costs, and we are just take them as part of our operations. Okay, What is visible to us is when we are testing, when we are having a rejection, when we have to rework upon certain component, when there is a visible waste, when the customer returns, or we have to spend on inspection, or we have to recall a product. Okay. This is visible to us. But the things like something which has been incorrectly completed sales order, we don't even calculate the cost of it. Somebody may ship us a wrong thing because our purchase order was not proper, or sales order was not proper, so we shipped something wrong. Okay, or we didn't have the proper planning, or we had a failed product within our development and we never looked at the cost of it. So there are a lot of things which go into managing the cost of quality, and majority of this cost of qualities are generally hidden below the water. So that's why we take it as an iceberg model, where we can only see the tip of it and generally are unaware of below the water expanse of the iceberg. Okay? And these, most of the costs are hidden and very difficult to identify by a formal measurement system. So that's an iceberg model. However, there is a huge potential for reducing the cost under the water. So if we focus out onto these areas, we really goal upon it, then we can reduce our cost immensely over a period of time. And this will also reduce the cost of doing our business substantially. Now let's look at the cost of good quality. Okay. So cost of good quality will involve investing carefully into preventive and appraisal systems, so that we can ensure that any kind of subsequent failures in products or the services do not occur. As we mentioned earlier, good quality costs are made up on preventive costs and appraisal costs. Okay. That's the good quality cost. Prevention cost, if we look more in detail, these are the costs incurred from the activities which are intended to keep the failures to a minimum. And some of these costs could be, this is just an example, some of these costs could be establishing the product specification, quality planning, new product development and testing, development of a quality management system, even the proper employee training. Okay? So these are the components which can go towards preventing the escalation of the cost. If I take some examples of cost of prevention, then there can be many more elements to this cost of prevention. So major ones, if we look in engineering, on the left hand side in the orange color, then the engineering cost of prevention could go more on the product design, drawing checkings, process documentation, process capabilities, design aids, maybe even reverse engineering, tool designs, and so on and so forth. And if we look on the quality improvement side, our cost of good quality could be toward the quality system maintenance, training, quality engineering, quality audits, certifications, corrective action programs, and so on and so forth. So all these are the examples of where we spend up money toward the cost of good quality. Okay. There can be furthermore examples. We could have the cost sunk toward the ensuring suppliers supply better material or services, manufacturing has proper tooling, sufficient preventive maintenance systems exist, our process is very stable, safety equipments are in place, and safety procedures are there, operators have been certified, and so on and so forth. All these kind of the things also have a cost, and all these costs which you incur go towards the good quality cost. Okay, so this is an example of what the good quality cost can be. Let's look at the appraisal cost. So appraisal costs are the costs which are incurred to maintain acceptable product quality levels, and some of these appraisal costs could be towards the incoming material inspection, process controls, fixture checkings, quality audits, and even, let's say, supplier assessments. So these are all towards appraisal. How do I appraise that my material is of the right quality, my process control systems are appropriate, my tools and fixtures which I'm using in manufacturing are of the right calibration, and so on. Quality audit processes are in place, and even the suppliers are assessed for their ability to supply the right kind of the material. Okay, and if we take some examples of the cost of appraisal, then it could be towards the product acceptance testing, operator inspections, in-process inspections, outside of the third-party testing, reliability testing, factory acceptance testing, and so on and so forth. So these are the cost of appraisals which we incur. And these are all combined along with the prevention cost, go to the cost of good quality. What is the cost of poor quality? So cost of poor quality or poor quality, whatever you want to call it, these are the costs that would disappear if systems, processes, and products were perfect. Okay. However, we know that systems, processes, and products are not always perfect. That's why you end up incurring some kind of the poor quality cost. Okay. So these costs include the costs involved in fulfilling the gap between the desired and the actual product or service quality. I want to deliver a Mercedes quality in a Maruti, and for that desire, I have to incur certain costs. That cost which I have to incur is the cost involved as the poor quality cost. Okay. This also can include the cost of the lost opportunity due to the loss of resources used in rectifying the defect. And this cost can also include all kind of the labor cost, rework cost, disposition cost, maybe even the material cost that has been added up to the unit up to the point of rejection. Okay. We categorize the cost of poor quality as the internal or external failures. So let's look into the internal and external failures also. Internal failures are the costs associated with defects found before the products or the services reaches the customer. And internal failures can include excessive scrap generation, maybe with a lot of product reworks, wastage due to the poorly designed processes, machine breakdowns due to the improper maintenance, or cost associated with the failure analysis, and so on and so forth. So there can be several examples of the internal failure. These are the major examples where the cost of internal failure takes place. Okay. Let's look at the external failures. And external failures are the costs which are associated with defects found after the customer receives the product or service. External failures may include, and these are just some examples, there can be many more than that: service and repair cost, warranty claims, customer complaints, products of the material returns, incorrect sales orders, incomplete bill of materials generated before the manufacturing, shipping damages due to inadequate packages. All these are the external failure examples. Okay, there can be several, but I have just taken some of them. Okay, so if you look into it, these are some of the examples where we end up spending money as part of the cost of quality, whether it's a cost of good quality or the cost of the poor quality. All right. So cost of quality equation is always non-linear. Investing in the cost of good quality does not necessarily mean that the overall cost of quality will increase. In fact, when the resources are invested in the right areas, the cost of quality should decrease. Okay? And when the failures are prevented or detected prior to leaving the facility or the manufacturing and reaching the customer, obviously the cost of poor quality will be reduced because your external failures will be lesser and the money spent behind repairing the external failures could be reducing. Okay? So this graph is slightly interesting because what happens is as the quality level starts increasing, your failure costs start going down. But to improve the quality level, your prevention cost definitely goes up. Okay? So every time I want to increase 1 sigma improvement into my quality, my cost of adding up 1 sigma to the quality levels would definitely be higher. Good part is that it reduces my failure cost. Okay? So we have to strike a balance, that what is the balance, right balance at which we want to have the quality. So normally when you do the quality comparisons or the quality planning, you will arrive at a guidance for what should be your quality cost, and then you try to balance that against the cost invested into the failures and cost incurred towards the prevention of the failures. Okay? So that is what becomes very important over here. Okay? So what did we learn today? Cost of quality is a sum total of cost of poor quality and cost of good quality. It is a methodology that allows an organization to determine that which resources are used for activities that can prevent the poor quality, and cost of poor quality affects the internal and external cost resulting from the failure to meet the requirements. Okay. Cost of good quality will affect the cost for investing in the prevention of non-conformance to requirements, and cost for appraising a product or service for conformance to requirements. Okay. So that is what the cost of good quality or cost of overall quality is. Okay. So that's all from my side today. Cost of quality is actually a very deep subject, and it takes understanding of the concepts, good data collection and analysis to identify where the poor quality is impacting the bottom line of the organization, and as well as where the investments are required to overall reduce the cost of quality delivered. Okay. If you have this understanding, and if you have the mechanism where you're collecting the data towards calculating these kind of the costs, it definitely can tell you that where you should be re-looking at your investments. Should you be investing into the prevention of failure, or should you be investing into mitigating the failures? Okay, so this is a very important concept. The cost of quality brings out to all the large organizations, and large organizations usually focus on cost of quality to ensure that they invest into the good quality cost, not into the poor quality. Okay. So thank you everyone for being part of today's session. At Skilltelligent, we assist the organizations by training the teams on such kind of the critical concepts and techniques. We also assist them in implementing these practices for their growth and success of the small and the medium enterprises. For more information for taking it forward, please contact Mr. Kishore Sharma for any of your requirements on such areas. Auro University and Skilltelligent will be more than happy to work with your organizations via the training and implementation support to such kind of the tools and techniques. Thank you once again, and if there are any questions, we can take them up now. Thank you.
Thank you, Atul sir. Thank you very much for apprising us on the cost of quality. We will take the questions from the participants. Yeah, the first question comes: how to bring ownership in shop floor employees for cost of quality?
Okay, so before you bring we talk about the ownership in the shop floor employees for the cost of quality. It is very important to first of all understand and identify that where are we spending? What is the cost we are sinking? Is it we are spending more onto the prevention, appraisals, or we are spending more on the failures? Okay. If it is on the prevention and appraisal, then it is very easy to train the employees, help them to understand that what is the thing which we are trying to do. And normally, if you are spending more on the prevention and if you are spending on the prevention and the appraisals, it is very easy to standardize that as part of your standard work. So quality, just 1 second, sorry. So employees, if they have a standard work which includes cost of good quality angle, the standard work talks about that there are certain preventive actions to be taken. There are certain appraisal mechanisms to be built into their work. Then it becomes very easy to motivate them or even engage them into employing or into adopting the cost of good quality. If it is a cost of poor quality, normally there will be two kinds of the scenarios which will happen. One is that there will be already a lot of pressure from the sales department or customer or the market to immediately repair that, okay, which normally would be handled again from the service department. So a shop floor employee may or may not be directly involved into the servicing of the poor quality. Okay. However, if it's a customized machine, it's not a mass-produced machine, then in that case, the shop floor employees may also be asked to go to the market and then accordingly, service the customer. So in that case, the customer pressure is the driving factor over there. right? But what is important over here is that how do you motivate your shop floor employee that they should understand that they are sinking the money into the cost of poor quality, and they should recognize that, do the root cause analysis into each of these poor quality investments, and then try to avoid that. So once again over there, programs like ensuring that every failure has a root cause analysis, kappas are performed, continuously kaizens are done to improve upon that particular failure. These are the kind of the things which again motivate the employees to actually improve. So if you have these kind of the programs, then the shop floor employees can be motivated and can be engaged into looking at the cost of quality in a positive manner. Okay.
Thank you, sir. The next question comes here: whether our university faculty trained on cost of quality to private company? So I think yes, our university jointly with Skilltelligent, we do provide trainings on the not only cost and quality, but various other techniques and tools that we have done webinars in past. And I would also like to share with all of you that shortly we will be starting short-term online courses, for which we will be sharing the details very soon with all of you, wherein you can register yourself or your colleagues for that. Thank you. The next question comes in.
So Kishore, before we take the next question, just one point. Yes, Oro University and Skilltelligent, we have a lot of experience into handling such kind of the assignments. We have helped companies implement the lean practices. We have helped the companies into implementing the cost of the quality. We have also helped the companies into implementing the tools like SMART and so on and so forth for improving the productivity of the shop floor. And that's where we have a team of the professionals who understand the business angle about it, who understand the shop floor issues, and who have worked into these scenarios in their profession to be able to assist the companies to implement this successfully. So definitely we can implement this along with the our customer base.
Thank you, sir. Let me take the next question. How do I implement cost of quality in my organization?
So let me just, so there are various strategies for implementing cost of quality. First of all, you would require to run a program which can identify the potential waste, failures, and the additional cost. Okay. The second thing is your top management must have an agenda and must communicate clear goals and measurements to all involved when you want to run the cost of quality program. Okay. The third thing is that you have to have an effective quality management program which has to be initiated at the several levels. You just cannot say that the top management is identified and it will be implemented only in the one area. It will not produce very good effect if it is very localized and it is not across the board. Okay. A lot of organizations prefer not just to implement the cost of quality, they actually prefer to implement the total quality management system, and they use that as a way to control the cost of quality. So that's another way in which people implement the cost of quality. They take the entire TQM and try to implement that. Okay. What is also very important is that you have to have a data collection method and a person identified for collecting the data in a responsible manner. If we are not able to collect the data regularly and correctly, then also our cost of quality implementation will not be appropriate, because this is all data driven and it produces right kind of the information for you to take the decisions. Okay. And the final step would be that once you have got this kind of the information, the cost of quality has told you where the things are going haywire, where your costs are not balanced, you're spending more on the failures rather than on the prevention and appraisal, then you have to come up with the improvement programs and you have to drive the improvements based upon this data analysis. So until and unless you do that, your cost of quality implementation will not take place effectively. So we have to do everything together. We have to have a strategy for implementing it. We have to have a top management buy-in. We have to have a clear goals and measurements for quality, cost of quality implementation. we have to initiate it at several levels, and we have to have a good, solid, effective data collection mechanism and a team which is ready to drive the improvements based upon the analysis. That's how normally we do the implementation of cost of quality. This involves a lot of data analysis. Let me be very clear. In the initial phases, it does ask for a lot of data collection and data analysis before the steps can be taken.
Thank you. Is there any ISO standard or any standard for cost of quality?
So ISO standard in terms of the TQM are there, but not as a very specific thing like this is the ISO standard for the cost of poor quality or the cost of good quality, because these are made up of the different components, and these components can vary from the company to company based upon their type of the business or the product services being offered. So definitely the TQM as a guideline in form of the ISO standards, but not at the lowest level. Okay, that's a framework. It's a larger framework.
The next question comes: what benefits cost of quality implementation can give to us?
Okay, so I think it can help us in multiple ways. First, I think it can provide us a good correlation between cost of good quality, that is the investment which we make in the preventive and the appraisal cost, versus the cost of the poor quality, which is arising usually because of the external or the internal failures. Okay, so that correlation is one which it tells us. Once we have a good data collection done and analysis carried out, it can pinpoint to us whether the failures are internal or external and what steps are needed to contain them. Okay, so like we took the example that warranty costs were high, or it was a product design failure. So you can always then the data analysis can tell you that where the failures are lying. So that's the next benefit with the cost of quality implementation can give you. Once you know these areas, then obviously it helps you to do the root cause and also plan out the improvement steps, which can help you to reduce the cost of poor quality. So that's another advantage. Cost of quality program can it can provide the cost benefit justification for needed corrective and the improvement projects. So if you remember, even in the ECMO manufacturing, we took the example saying that these guys made a business case and said that if we invest 45 lakh rupees into improving the work style, it will help us to save a lot of money. So once they ran this analysis, they found out that the warranty costs were high because of this reason. There was a poor quality question. Then they could also come out with a justification for the corrective actions and improvement projects. So quality program, cost of quality program enables us to have this cost benefit justification. And it can assist you in qualifying the cost associated with inefficient or maybe even incapable processes, which might be generating even the unwanted variation or waste or losses or kind of the rejections. So there are several such kind of the benefits of cost of quality program which you can leverage by putting them over here. The best benefit you would have is that if you have implemented the cost of quality program sufficiently and you have driven the improvements based upon the indicators it throws up, then it definitely aids into improving your bottom line substantially. So that's another major advantage of the cost of quality program implementation.
Thank you, sir. The next question: is it necessary to have a strong IT infrastructure for implementing cost of quality, as it seems that we need a lot of data collection and analysis for successful implementation?
No, not really. What you need is a well-structured cost analysis mechanism in the company. If you have cost accountants who can work along with your production people and the technical people, and they have a cost analysis mechanism, I think that should be sufficient enough. You need to have good data collection and analysis mechanism, and if you have proficient people who can use the electronic spreadsheets, Excel sheets, and so on and so forth, that's more than sufficient. Okay. However, if you have a good IT system, which is maybe you have a good ERP system which is plugged into your production system, captures a lot of daily production data and so on and so forth. Your costing data is also captured into that, and it also has a mechanism of running the dashboards, or it has a business intelligence system. Then definitely it will help you. It will definitely cut down your huge efforts into collecting data and analyzing it. But it necessarily doesn't mean that you have to have a good ERP. You can collect the data manually, and that manual data collection with the analytical skills, you can still run it using the spreadsheets. So you don't need a very strong IT infrastructure for the same.
Thank you, sir. Here we come to the end of the sessions. We do not have much questions now. I think we have answered all the queries. Atul sir, thank you very much for sharing a wonderful, knowledgeable presentation. As it is rightly said, you cannot manage which you cannot measure. We have seen the cost of poor quality that an organization has to pay in a long run. Cost of quality has a direct impact on profits. In fact, it is a profit center. So thank you, Atul sir, for apprising us on the cost of quality. And I'm sure this will help us in achieving our quality goals. I would like to thank all the participants for being with us. I would like to share with you that shortly, our university and Skilltelligent would be starting the online short-term courses. We will be sharing the further details on the same very soon. Till then, take care and stay safe. Thank you very much. Thank you, Atul sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.